So hundreds of years ago, Leonardo da Vinci deconstructed man into its components and analyzed how each fitted the other. So here we have a picture of the deconstruction of man. But now let's further deconstruct deconstruction itself. So at the core of deconstruction lies its true meaning. And what deconstruction really means is looking for inconsistencies within the text and then breaking them down into showing how another meaning is possible through the actual text. And so at the basis, there's a couple of points. Deconstruction is a fairly new type of looking at text and was invented in 1967 by Jacques Derrida and of grammatology. It's known to be anti-structuralist, meaning it destroys structures and the hierarchies within human minds, and it's become known as neo-structuralism. And how you do this is by analyzing the inconsistencies and flaws within logic and showing how another meaning can be brought through that. It destroys previous assumptions and resists using conventions in reading. So again, you don't have any of that prior knowledge when you go through the text. And so there's a couple of methods to bring about deconstruction. You need to transform the meaning so that you don't rely on your previous assumptions. Manipulation of text so that you can use it in each segment and look at it in a different light. Summarize events without giving them meaning so that you can understand what actually happens without your prior biases. Synthesize new interpretations so that you can bring about that new understanding. And so there's some questions you can ask to bring about this. What contradictions appear within the text? Could this scene be interpreted differently? Who or what enjoys a privileged status within the reading, so you understand what you should be pointing to when you deconstruct it. And so, when you're doing these things, a couple things should be going through your head. You should analyze why we think or believe as we do. Ignore the details about the author, the era, or the reader. Reject the notion of a correct reading, because there's no correct reading. And then challenge our base of biases and our expectations so that we can see the true meaning within the text. And so thus, we have the deconstruction of deconstruction. And so here represents the many books throughout the ages who have been held to a convention. And the one we'll be focusing on today is Macbeth. So the conventions of Macbeth is that he's an ambitious man in charge of every circumstance, and he's a control freak. But when you go through the underlying points of each of those, you see there's various loopholes, and we'll show you how those lead to different meanings.
Alright, the first scene we looked at was Act 1, Scene 3, and it was when Macbeth meets the witches, and basically they predict his future of becoming King of Scotland. And so they basically manipulate him into believing that he will become King of Scotland at any cost, or every cost. So.
And he believes everything he is told, so the witches can kind of manipulate him, which kind of brings apart from the idea that he's in control of everything that's going on.
Additionally, the first thing he does, he writes his wife. Hi honey, met 3 strange women, told me I'd become king. How was your day? Most people who are really ambitious probably wouldn't stop to write a letter to the wife about how they met 3 witches who told them they'd become king. They'd be out doing some plotty, murdery things.
Words are unkind. It's clear from your vacant expression. The lights in the wall upstairs. We are talking kings and successions. Even you got me caught unawares. So prepare for a chance a lifetime. Be prepared for sensational news. A shining new era is tiptoeing nearer.
And where do we feature?
I probably shouldn't need to explain the significance of that.
But you'll be rewarded when at last I have given my dues. And injustice
Explain it now.
Well, basically, this song is the epitome of this scene. It basically explains that the witches are predicting that he will become king, and they're tempting him with, you know,
Kingship.
yeah. So it's just basically just that. So.
And the picture is representing that scene only half of what it is. You put the apple in before the face, you can only see the apple, but you can't see the face. And that kind of represents the hidden meaning behind the witch's words.
If you're curious, the painting is called The Son of Man by
Yes.
Alright,
The Son of Man.
well, yeah, basically the apple in this picture is like a facade for his true character, and it's hiding who he truly is and what his true values are. So, the witches make Macbeth look at himself in a different light, predicting that he'll become king of all Scotland. And they tempt him to claim the throne at all costs. And the witches basically bring his hidden side to the front of this character.
No, talk. It's getting quiet.
Oh. That's all I have.
That's all I have to say. And so that's just a brief view at the loophole of the manipulation of Macbeth by the Weird Sisters. And so you can see how once you go through the convention, you get a different idea of who Macbeth really is.
Another one of these little issues with the usual interpretation of Macbeth is found Act 2, scenes 1, 2, where they kill Duncan. Sort of a big part of the play. But really, Macbeth didn't do most of the work for this. He didn't come up with the plan to kill Duncan. He barely managed to execute the plan. When he did execute the plan, he still screwed up. Lady Macbeth had to go back and cover for him by taking back the daggers and murdering the guards. It's just not in line with his previous, at least what other people would claim his previous characterization would be. If he was really this ambitious guy always looking out for himself, he would have thought to leave the daggers there and not frighten himself by carrying around murder weapons. It's just these simple little errors that don't add up to paint the picture we're always told the picture makes. It's like if you're using those paint by numbers things and you have 4 colors of paint, but you have 6 different numbers, it just doesn't work.
And so this scene also kind of represents how the quote is from when he begins to regret asking to kill Duncan, and then Lady Macbeth has to push him one step further, saying, "Are you kidding me? We gotta do this." And so
What have you done now? I know I better stop trying. You know that there's no denying. I won't show mercy on you
So the painting is this screen, and it represents, as you can probably tell, the killing and kind of his own fright of having to do something that he doesn't want to do. And then the bridge represents the transition from him going from just a good soldier into a cold-hearted murderer. And the kind of waviness of it, this represents the turbulence that would probably be going inside his heart.
Like the uh-oh phase, or the oh no phase, represents Macbeth's conflicting views with killing Duncan. And he was portrayed as loyal in the beginning, but as we see through construction, and through the persuasion of his wife to kill Duncan and grab power, it exacerbates his temptation to claim the throne and test his manhood. He is revealed as disloyal, and his values are easily disintegrated into being corrupt and evil.
So, moving on.
And then, so that song is What Have You Done Now by Within Temptation. It kind of probably represents his inner turmoil too, as he kind of thinks it's like, what have I done? And then his feelings with having to kill Macbeth.
Duncan.
Oh,
His
killing
feelings with
Duncan.
killing Duncan.
Yes, Macbeth killing Duncan. Oh, I'm tired.
So, third scene also demonstrates Macbeth's lack of really matching up with his common interpretation of his character. The scene where he sees Banquo's ghost. Usually Macbeth, you're told, he's this guy, he's in charge of everything, he's always in command, he's always got a plan, he's always thinking and doing and manipulating. And then this scene shows up and just sort of ruins everything. Like, he's at his coronation banquet, having a nice little dinner, and he sees the ghost of Banquo sitting in his chair. And rather than saying, oh, it appears there's a ghost sitting in my chair, I'm going to ignore this and pretend that I'm sane, he freaks out. Like, all of the guests are just sitting there staring at him going, what are you doing? Why are you freaking out? And he's not even noticing it. He's too busy being paranoid about the ghost of Banquo. And his wife has to take charge, take control, bluff her way through it, and she essentially says, yeah, my husband goes crazy every once in a while, don't worry about it. So really, she's also weakening his position as king, because she's pretty much saying, yeah, my husband's a little crazy, just pretend it doesn't happen and deal with it. So, you've already got a string of murders, and now you're crazy. King material. Totally. Should probably go through it.
This part is definitely long, yeah.
Well, this painting is called Guernica, and it's by Picasso. And basically you see all these random shapes and figures floating around everywhere. It's all chaotic and disoriented. And basically this represents how Macbeth feels as he sees Banquo. And basically it's chaotic. He doesn't want this to happen. He's confused on why it's happening, and so he doesn't want it to harm him.
So the song is Nothing Ever Dies by Camelot, and it seems pretty relevant both because, one, Banquo was a ghost who's just sort of chilling out at banquets, not being dead, but additionally, it speaks about how your sins aren't going to be undone, and everything that you've ever done, good or evil, is going to be with you until you die, regardless of whether you want it on your conscience or not. And it also brings up one of the sub-themes of Macbeth in that right is wrong and wrong is right, because the play likes to continually make references to those sort of contradictory statements that on the surface seem meaningless, but when you start to pull them apart, actually add a lot of extra layers to the text.
And another point to add on to the painting, it kind of looks like a lot of random shapes, which is kind of also how he feels at seeing the ghost and everything else has come together. It's hard for him to piece together and make sense of it, and so kind of like making sense of just a bunch of random figures here. And so that kind of represents how Banquo's ghost scene shows how Macbeth is actually not in control of everything, and he loses his sanity quite easily.
Drop of the knife, you might say.
And so, if we look at these again, Macbeth being in charge of every situation, ambitious, and as a control freak, then we kind of start to question, as we see through the loopholes, it's not really true. And so, once you see those loopholes and you go out of them, you get to a new meaning of Macbeth that is actually very gullible, frightful, and insecure.